Okay guys, so right now we're gonna do a little how-to video on how to install our Viking front coilover kit for 11 to 14, and really it's basically the same for 05 to 14 because these cars really didn't change the suspension geometry or anything really much. So this is your Viking coilover setup. First thing first is, it looks a little short, right? We have to pull this part by my nose out so it's fully extended. It's pretty simple, guys. Literally, this is our strut. This came assembled. I'm just gonna grab onto that, and I'm using this with one hand. So if you can hang on to it, and you just grab the shaft with your hand and pull it out like so. So it's fully extended. So the next thing we're gonna do, guys, is we have these three pieces. So if you see this one, it has a ridge on the top. That's gonna face up. This is our bottom one. Now, we're gonna use some anti-seize, and we're gonna put it on the threads. And then when we get close to where we wanna put it, we're gonna put some on the threads there too. Now, after this one slides down and just twists on with that ridge up, then we're gonna place this one on. Same thing with the ridge, or this shaft, up, and anti-seize in it as well. And then finally, this goes on. So as you guys can see, we got anti-seize on there, and then we actually put it down the side pretty thoroughly. And this is just gonna spin down. Okay, we're gonna spin it down pretty far, and then we're gonna do the same thing, spinning this one down on top of it, just like so. And basically what this does is this is the seat for your spring, and it also locks it in place. So this just springs or slides down like that, spinning. And what happens is basically you get this set where you want it, and then you twist this one up into it and it locks it in place. So next step is pretty easy, guys. We're gonna take the big washer, and it's gonna go down over. Make sure it sits flat. Now we can adjust our ride height here to where we want it. I'm gonna actually take it down a bit more. And after that washer's on, we can go ahead and grab our spring. As I usually say, make sure you can read it. That way, when you take a quick look, you remember, or when you don't remember, you know what we have. So we have a 14-inch, 200-pound front spring. That's how the top goes. So next, we have the top hat. Now you can put some anti-seize under there if you need to, or feel like it. You don't have to though. But where you are gonna put anti-seize is around the top there, because we have these thrust washers, okay, and the thrust bearing inside of it. And these are gonna get covered both sides, all sides, in anti-seize, and then they're going to go washer, bearing, and then washer on the top, like so. So last but not least, guys, we're gonna do the top part. So as you can see, there's a bunch of anti-seize in there, and we're gonna do our final top hat, which is gonna go on like so, and sits down nice and easy like that. Now we are using the UPR kit. It comes with spacers. So as you can see, we're going to have to actually lower our ride height a little bit or compress this so that we can adjust it, because we're using our caster camber plate to go on the top, and it doesn't exactly go through. So we're gonna bottom this out so we can bolt it together, and then we can always adjust this back up. So that's what I'm gonna do right now, is go ahead and lower this so that we can get our nut on the top. So there we go, guys. You can see the height. We got about an inch in between the bottom plate, and now there's enough room there on the top so that we can go ahead and put our locking nut. There we go. And what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna use the impact, sink that down on there, and that'll give us a little bit of tension on the spring. But that is very tall, but it is your Viking coilover setup. All right, guys, we're gonna go into a little more detail here. We ran out of light, but I went ahead and slapped this side in. Pretty simple. What you're looking at is we'll start with the top nut. The top nut is a 15/16 looks like. So we just used the impact, zapped it on, then we threw the shock up in there, the whole coilover setup. This top part is a caster camber plate from UPR, which is underneath, which slides front and back. We just tightened it up. It's not actually adjusted to where it needs to be, but that size is a 13 millimeter. So these are a 13 millimeter. This is a 15/16. And then down here on the bottom, you have these big bolts right here that go on. Those ones are a 18 millimeter. Super easy. The best way to do it is to put the top in first, as you can see, and that is the direction it's situated. Put the top in first, then go ahead and you put the bottom one in, and then you can tilt the spindle until it lines up. Then go ahead and sink them both down and tighten them. And then I'm gonna go ahead and tighten these three. The brake lines attach to this thing right here. That little tab off the back, which is really nice. So we're gonna tighten that up as well. And then those bolts, which have the nuts there on the back. Once those are tightened up, we're gonna go ahead and do the other side. And after doing the other side, then we can throw the wheels back on and we can lower the car down to see where our ride height is at. Now, I will measure the fronts, the space on the bottom to ensure that we set them both equally. That way when we lower it down, we're gonna adjust them virtually the same. We might end up adjusting them a little bit different just because my fat butt's gonna be in the driver's seat drag racing, and I want the car to be level when I'm in it. Don't really care what it's doing when I'm not in it, so that's how we're gonna set it up. We're removing the stock strut that we have here. This little bolt is an 10 millimeter right here, and that's the one that holds the brake lines on. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten up the brake line bolt on here, which is actually bigger than a 10 millimeter. I think it's a 12, so I'm gonna check that right now. So that nut right there, which holds the brake line on, ends up being an 11 millimeter. So we're gonna go ahead and tighten that one up so that it's not loose and jingling around. And then we'll figure out what size hex these need and the bolts in the back. Now you're gonna wanna be careful with that little 11 millimeter bolt because sort of the hand ratchet, I just with one hand, I just broke it off. So luckily I had another one lying around that was the exact same size, so no big deal. But be careful with that one. Don't over tighten it, just snug it up just a little bit with your ratchet and you'll be good. Don't use an impact on it, you will snap it off. So this next set of bolts that we're tightening really is right here. These are these three that go down the side that hold basically where the strut itself mounts to the spindle. You're gonna use a T50 and then a 14 millimeter for the back side. Again, these are bigger bolts, so I'm gonna snug them down pretty good, but don't break them off. So on the passenger side, we got everything tightened up. It looks good. Only thing we haven't done is obviously set our ride height and adjust our rebound and compression settings. So going per the directions, the setting we're gonna try first is we're gonna actually make it a pretty stiff setup here in the front. So we're gonna run, go in the middle, it says 12 to 18 compression. That's for everything. And then rebound, it says, well, for I guess under 600 horsepower, 0 to 4. So we're actually gonna do a 0 on the rebound, and then we'll turn it up from there. And we're gonna do a 12 on the compression. So we're gonna start on the low end and then work our way up, testing different settings out on the strip. So I'm gonna roll under here and we're gonna click them on. Okay guys, so right now we have them set all the way to the left. So that should be 0. So if I can get my paper, we were gonna be doing, I believe it was 12 to 18. So compression, we're gonna do 12. And rebound, oh, I can't find my own hand. Rebound right here, we're gonna stay at 0. And compression, we're gonna do 12. So we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or is it 7? 8, 9, 10, 11, and that should be 12 right there. So there you go. We're gonna stay on 12 there and 0 on our rebound. So obviously R for rebound and C for compression. So there we go, guys. Looks pretty good. Everything's all tightened up. Only thing we're gonna do is change the ride height after we get both set, and we'll decide where we want it to sit. I take that back. There will be one more thing. We will adjust the camber up top as well after we set our ride height. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, guys. Both of them are off. And we'll just basically play with this till we get it pop out. One, and we are gonna reuse those. So you're gonna support it a little bit, and you should be able to kind of jiggle it out. I'm gonna need both hands, but I'll get the bottom one out. It's pretty simple. We have all of that unsecured now. It's unbolted, so we're just gonna let it rest for a minute, and then we're just gonna go up to the top. And all you're gonna do is remove those 4. We do them pretty evenly, and then we drop the last one, and that will literally drop the entire shock and spring combo down out of the car. Pretty simple, guys. It literally takes like 3 different size of sockets and 2 little impacts. The top size to get off was a 13 millimeter. I don't know if I've said that yet or not. 13 millimeter, those 4 bolts. Strut. What we're showing on the inside, guys, what it'll look like. There you go. Yes, that is our brake line holding it. We're not gonna have it like that for long. You usually wanna support it with something so that's not, all the weight is not on it. We're gonna put the jack under it for just a minute so that it's supported, but other than that, it's not really gonna hurt anything. All right, so we got this side on. It's all tightened up, it's good to go. So the only thing we have left is literally to throw the tires back on. We're just gonna put them on, I'm not gonna say super loose, but we're not gonna like torque them down or anything. So we can, when we drop down the car, we can adjust the ride height again. As of right now, we're not gonna do it because we still got a lot of work to do to the rear end, but I will make another video for adjusting the ride height on these. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and look forward to more how-to videos from us here at Auto Mafia Racing.